Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Monica and I'm an NHS GP, and on here we talk all things from life, being a GP, work, fitness, wedding and house renovation. So without further ado, let's begin. If you like my videos, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Monica and I'm an NHS GP. On here, we discuss everything from work to life, fitness, house renovation, wedding planning, you name it. So without further ado, let's begin. The theme for this week's video is a Q&A. Earlier on in the week, I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any questions for me. There were a lot of responses which were really varied, ranging from GP to life to fitness, and I can't wait to get stuck in. So the first topic I thought I would cover would be GP, medicine, and being a doctor. And one of the first questions is, why GP, and did you ever consider other specialties? When I started work as a doctor, I very quickly realised that it wasn't what I thought it would be like when I was going through medical school. And actually during my F1 training, I wanted to quit. But the system is a bit like a conveyor belt. So once you're on it, you very quickly get sucked in and think that you just need to get to the next step. During my F1, I thought maybe I'll just get through to F2 and then decide what I want to do, rather than quitting now. So I finished my foundation training and then decided to take an F3, a year out to work as a locum if you wanted to. Some people travel, and my plans were to locum for the first 6 months and then travel for the last 6 months. But unfortunately, COVID hit at that time and I was unable to travel. Just before COVID truly hit, I was working in a place called ambulatory care, which is a department that's a bit like a hybrid between GP and A&E. So you see patients that need on-the-day investigations but aren't unwell to need A&E. And that environment was similar to GP because you had a clinic-based scenario, so you would call patients into your room, take a history, decide the investigations that you want to do, and actually get the majority of those investigations on that same day, and then bring them back in, follow them up with the investigation results, and then decide a plan going forward. And you had the opportunity to bring those patients back, say in a week, 2 weeks time, to see how they were getting on, see if they needed any other investigations or specialty input. I really liked that because not only were you having that continuity of care with the patients, and I really liked that because I had my own clinic, I had my own room, I could see my patients and choose to bring them back for follow-up if needed. That was quite similar to GP. Because I enjoyed that clinic-based scenario, I then applied for GP training. In terms of considering other specialties, I did consider other specialties, especially during my medical school training. So I thought, whilst I was studying medicine, that I wanted to become an endocrinologist. And I actually did a BSc in my 5th year of university in clinical and molecular endocrinology. But when I started working, I very quickly realised that I didn't want to be confined to a hospital rota for kind of 10 plus years. Doing GP allows me to do the things that I want to do outside of work. It gives me that flexibility. And I think over the years, I've realised that I prioritise having a work-life balance, and that's why I chose GP. So the next question is, what kind of GP are you, i.e. locum, salary or partner, and is there still a future for locums? I am a locum GP, so I completed my GP training in August 2023, and since then I have been a locum. So what that means is that I am self-employed and GP surgeries will pay for my services, i.e. doing a GP session. And one of the main reasons why I decided to be a locum to begin with was because I had been on a rota for about 6 years and I didn't want to be confined to a rota to begin with. I also didn't know where exactly I wanted to work, what particular GP surgery. I just wanted to experience different surgeries, get a feel of it, and then decide if I wanted to be a salaried GP. So being a locum has lots of pros and lots of cons. One of the pros, or some of the pros, include the fact that I am self-employed, which means that I have flexibility on my work schedule. So I can choose the days, the hours I want to work in a week, and choose the amount of sessions that I want to do. So sessions are typically 3 hours, and within those 3 hours, people can see from kind of 15 to 18 patients. So a day's worth of work would be 2 sessions, so 6 hours. In the majority of cases, being a locum GP means that you don't necessarily have to do on-calls, home visits, and other admin tasks like actioning bloods, documents, or script queries. There are some cons. So obviously, as you are self-employed, there's not necessarily job security, so it's dependent on the availability and the demand from the GP surgeries that you work in. There's no sick pay, annual leave, maternity leave, and also if you're not locuming in a place regularly, then you don't really get that rapport with patients, and you may not be able to follow them up as much as you would like. So the question about whether there is a future for locums is a bit of a tough question, especially given this current climate, about allied healthcare professionals and their roles within primary care. In the practices that I work, we have a lot of allied healthcare professionals ranging from pharmacists, social prescribers, physiotherapists, health and wellbeing coaches, mental health practitioners, physician associates, and each of them have particular expertise that patients actually may benefit from if they saw them first rather than seeing a GP. I think whilst there is a role for allied healthcare professionals within primary care in terms of their niche and their expertise, it doesn't mean that they can or should replace the role of a GP. I think it's difficult to know what the future of GP locums will look like. So the next question is, when did you know you wanted to become a doctor? I was actually trying to think back to this and if there was a particular point where I thought, yeah, I wanted to become a doctor, but I can't really pinpoint it. I have an older sister who has a chronic condition, and I, growing up, observed her attending hospital appointments, GP appointments, having medication at home, how much of an impact the healthcare system had on her life. And I think subliminally, I felt like I wanted to do the same for somebody else. Also, my sister is a doctor, and she has always been my role model. And seeing her go through medical school training made me want to become a doctor. And when I spoke to my mum and my sister about applying for medicine, funnily enough, they both told me not to. And my sister told me that it was really hard and tried to sway me from applying. But classic me, being stubborn, applied anyway. Didn't get in first time round, but I got in second time. Another question leading on from that is, would you have your own GP practice? I don't think so. And the reason why I say that is because as a locum, I work in a lot of GP surgeries, and I see the amount of hard work that partners put into the GP surgery behind the scenes. And it is a big job. A lot of work happens outside of the 9 to 5, which I don't think the public get to see. The next question is, do you not worry that patients think you're unprofessional because of your social media? No. Things that I post are the reality of my life, the reality of my job. And I guess my question is would you be asking somebody who has a social media account that is not in the healthcare professional the same question? I'm not sure how or when the perception changed, whereby if you work within the healthcare system, then that system is your whole life. But to me, medicine is a job. It's something that I do as a job, and I have a life outside the job. Have you considered practicing or working abroad for a few years? I have definitely toyed with the idea. You hear a lot about Australia, New Zealand, work-life balance, better pay. And I always think to myself, do I think that because the grass is always greener on the other side, when actually the grass is always greener where you water it, if that makes sense? Most recently, I've been thinking about it more because the current system doesn't allow me to provide the standard of care that I want to for my patients. And public perception makes it really difficult sometimes to feel valued. But I also think that that might be the case anywhere you go. I also have my family, friends, and a life here, so I don't think I could move long term, but maybe for a few years. So the last GP question is, I'm due to CCT as a GP in April, and I was wondering if you have any tips for a GP with dyslexia. So firstly, congrats on CCTing. As some of you may know, if you've seen my previous videos, I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 30, and it came to light during my GP training and kind of having failures after exams. I think it's very personal depending on how your dyslexia affects you. There are things that you can do in a GP setting to help, i.e. you can use a dictaphone, you can use different fonts on the computer. I think I underutilise some of the resources available to help me and my dyslexia during work. And I think it's because I've had it for such a long time undiagnosed that I've just made small additions without even knowing. Moving on to the second most highly requested topic in the Q&A, and that is skin. So many of you have asked about skincare routine, makeup routine, what do you use on your skin? So I thought I would break it down for you. So morning skincare routine, I wake up and I will wash my face with warm water. If I am going to cleanse in the morning, then I use Cetaphil oily skin cleanser. I then let that dry. As it is drying, I will use my facial roller, which is broken, so I kind of need to get a new one, but I then use that along just to help with some lymphatic drainage, get the circulation flowing. Once my skin is dry, I then apply a daily moisturiser which has SPF. I have been using this for the longest amount of time, and that is La Roche-Posay, and it has SPF 50 in there. Please, please, please use SPF on your face daily, especially on days like this when the sun is out. When you can't see the sun, it's probably out, so use SPF. Evening skincare routine is pretty much the same in terms of I cleanse my face again with Cetaphil. I let my skin dry. Once my skin has dried, use my Skin and Me. I've been using Skin and Me for probably just under 6 months now. The reason why I started was because I wanted to get my skin ready for my wedding. That's really confusing in terms of using lots of serums morning and night, and I just wanted something that was all in one, that was just simple, and I knew I was going to be able to use it and not forget about it. Then I wait for about 15 minutes until the Skin and Me has soaked in, and then I use my nighttime moisturiser, which is the Cetaphil Rich Night Cream, and as you can tell, I need to get a new one. Daily makeup products. I try and use little as possible makeup. The first thing I do after I've moisturised my face is do my eyebrows. The Refi Brow Sculpt. I need a new one, it's broken, but essentially you have the glue, you have the 2 brushes to shape your eyebrows. I then use the Maybelline Eraser Multi-Use Concealer. I use that under my eyes, on my forehead, under my nose and around my chin. To set that, I use my Laura Mercier Translucent Honey Powder. Controversial, but I actually use a lip cream, and that is the NYX lip cream in the colour Copenhagen. For my eyes, I use Maybelline Sky High Mascara and this black liquid liner. Again from Maybelline, but it's so old that it's faded. My lips, I use the 8 Hour Elizabeth Arden Lip Balm. The next topic that I had a lot of questions about was kind of work-life balance. So where do you find the time to do everything, i.e. workout, work, social media, wedding planning? How do you fit training around your busy schedule? And the truth of it is sometimes I really struggle. I really struggle to find motivation to do all the things that I want to do in my day. But what I would say is that I fall back on habits. So I have created consistent habits over a long period of time in my life. That means that on days where I lack motivation, I fall back on the habits that I've formed over so many years. I think there are a few things that I do either at the end of the week or every day that help me achieve the goals that I want to, either in that day or during that week. One of the things I would say is to plan your week or plan your day. I think the other thing to think about is what are your non-negotiables, things that you want to achieve during the day. And I think for me, they have probably been the same for a few years now, and that would be things like movement, whether that's a gym class, going to the gym, working out, going for a walk, going for a run. Hydration, so making sure I hit my water target. Cooking nutritious meals, so after a long day, the last thing I want to do is think of what to cook or what to eat. So kind of planning what we're going to eat for the week is really useful. Sleep is another one as well, so making sure I get at least 7 hours sleep if possible. The thing is trying to avoid procrastination. It's really hard and it's really easy. It's really hard to avoid and really easy to get sucked in to procrastinating. And I think that's where goal setting really comes in, making sure that I've achieved what I've wanted to by the end of the day. I think at the moment, I'll be honest, I feel really overwhelmed because my work schedule has stayed the same since August, where I work in GP about 3.5 days a week. And then on my days off, which is about 1.5 days, I find that now I am juggling between wedding admin, life admin, social media work in terms of newsletter preparations, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube videos, replying to emails. And I think whilst I'm able to do it at the moment, I do feel like very quickly it may be something that I'm not able to sustain. In terms of fitting training around my week, I always like to sit down on a Sunday and think about what my training schedule looks like for the week. And I also try to remove the barriers that will be in my way and stop me from training. And whether that means prepping my breakfast or my lunch the night before, laying out my gym clothes the night before so that it's ready for me when I wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, or taking my kind of trainers and gym clothes to work with me so that I can fit in an evening class or an evening gym session. I also think having a buddy is really useful because it holds you accountable. I think that's lucky in terms of my partner, who is also an avid fitness enthusiast. So that concludes the Q&A for this week. I hope that you have found it useful, and if I didn't get time to answer all of your questions, then hopefully I will next time. If you've managed to stick to the end of this video, then thank you very much. And if you like my video, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time.